Confusion in the PDP today. Security blockade bars BOT members from accessing party headquarters. But in the end, earlier this evening, leaders have now resolved to allow Samuel Anyanwu act as National Secretary. And tonight we dig into the need for credible 2027 elections as the Civil Society Situation Room today launched a credibility threshold for conducting 2027 general elections. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I am Sean Wakimale here in Abuja. Let's give you an update on President Bola Tinubu's trip outside of the country. President Tinubu is being out of the country in St. Lucia, where he is proposing a visa waiver for OEC's official passport holders as Nigeria now has established diplomatic relations with our country. The president declared Nigeria's openness to visa waivers for OEC's diplomatic and official passport holders and urged reciprocal gestures to facilitate smoother official travel and closer institutional cooperation. President Bola Tinubu formally announced the establishment of diplomatic relations with St. Lucia, describing it as a symbolic bridge that will provide a gateway in fostering closer ties between the two countries. President Tinubu said that this while addressing a special joint session of the Senate and House of Assembly of St. Lucia at the William Jefferson Clinton Ballroom, Sanders Grind in St. Lucia. From what the president is doing outside the country and some of the interesting scenarios playing out, it is at the doorstep of the People Democratic Party. One day, one trouble for the opposition party. But we'll be finding out what exactly happened. Have they agreed? What is the way forward? We'll be speaking with one of the leaders of the party who at one point was so frustrated that they turned him back from the venue of the meeting. But in the end, they met. And we'll be bringing you updates on their meeting tonight. But first, let's serve you with some of your political roundup stories.
The acting national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Mr. Alibuka Dalori, assumed duty and has assured party members of his dedication to carrying out his new role with transparency, inclusiveness, and unity of purpose. Addressing members of the National Working Committee of the party in Abuja shortly after assuming office, Dalori said he was grateful for the continued support and loyalty of the party as he was prepared to work with members as partners in the collective task of safeguarding the party's unity, discipline, and direction. The party has fixed July the 24th, 2025, for its National Executive Council NEC meeting to nominate a new substantive national chairman. Suspended lawmaker representing Kogi Central, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, has been arraigned before Justice Mohammed Umar of Federal High Court Abuja on cybercrime charges. Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan was arraigned on a 6-count charge filed by the Director of Public Prosecution of the Federation, Mr. Mohammed Abubakar. She pleaded not guilty and was granted bail on self-recognition. The House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee on Rivers State has issued a 48-hour ultimatum to the sole administrator of the state, Vice Admiral Ibok Etei Bas retired, to submit a breakdown of major items in the 2025 1.48 trillion naira appropriation bill. The chairman of the committee, Honorable Julius Inhovere, issued the ultimatum, stating that the committee had gone through the budget as presented by the sole administrator and had raised several issues. The chairman also questioned the allocation of 24 billion naira for CCTV cameras to be installed in the State House, demanding for the breakdown, and 30 billion naira for the purchase of gunboats, and 23 billion naira earmarked for contingency reserves. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Nyesom Wike, is accusing the University of Abuja of grabbing 11,000 hectares of land in the Gishiri area of the nation's capital. However, Mr. Wike said he reversed the university's action and ordered that only 4,000 hectares be allocated to the institution. He disclosed this during the commissioning of newly constructed access roads in Giri district of Abuja. Governor Abdulrazak of Kwara State is suing a member of the House of Representatives, Mr. Moshood Mustafa, and his brother, Mr. Bolakale Mustafa, over alleged disturbance of public peace, false declaration, and incitement against the governor. The two men were arraigned before Justice Mohammed Abdul Ghaffar at the State High Court in Ilorin, the state capital. However, both men pleaded not guilty to the 5-count charge. Nevertheless, they were granted bail in the sum of 5 million naira, while the case was adjourned to July the 18th, 2025, for commencement of trial. Residents of Lafiaji in the Edu local government area of Kwara State today took to the streets in protest against what they described as the worsening insecurity in their communities. They lamented that they had been faced with repeated cases of kidnapping and killings. The protesters, predominantly youth from the area, voiced frustration over what they termed government's inaction in the face of the continued violence.
My major concern tonight on the program is some of the flaws of the 2023 elections. If we do an election that some people will say look like the 2007 election, and we think that we do not need to improve on it, yeah, there are those who think INEC as an institution has improved, but as our election improved, because the irony of it is that, yes, an institution might be looking new and fresh, but yet its product or its productivity is looking flawed. 2027 election is probably one of the most talked about elections in the history of this country. 2 years before that election, people are already talking about it. Now, I'm concerned about what it means for our future as a people. If we get it wrong in 2027, the danger in that elections for us. And so some people came together and launched what they call the credibility threshold document. The minimum, irreducible minimum standard for an election to happen. They've been doing this since 2019. That is our major conversation. But let's look at the troubled home of the People's Democratic Party, first and foremost, before we get into that. And so they held their 100th National Executive Committee meeting. But before that happened, let me show you what really happened at the Wadata Plaza, where the People's Democratic Party was supposed to hold its meeting. And there was a security blockade. The meeting was supposed to have the BOT members. And this is a scene that you will see at the entrance of the Wadata Plaza in the city center in Abuja, where some of the leaders of the party were seen trying to get access, but were turned back. Some of them are members of the board of trustees of the party. Later on, we understand that they looked for another venue, and at the end of the day, some of the governors were given reasons why the blockade happened. So we saw governors and other members of the NEC eventually meeting, but the acting national chairman of the party, Madam Agrum, in his opening remarks noted that the gathering was a NEC meeting and the decision was taken after the meeting with the governors. According to him, the NEC would deliberate on only one agenda to discuss when a proper NEC that would discuss issues relating to the party convention will be held. He therefore urged members of the party to stop the marketing the party. But let's take a look at what really happened today. I'll be bringing you some of the soundbite of what happened. One of those people who were turned back and furious, and he was apparently very angry when that happened at the Wadata Plaza, is a member of the board of trustees of the party, Chief Olabode George, who is virtually joining us tonight on the program. Chief George, thanks so much indeed for joining us tonight.
Yeah, Shem, always my pleasure.
Were you surprised that you were turned back at Wadata Plaza today?
It was disgraceful. This is the home, like you are going back to your home, and suddenly you were surrounded by police, and I thought, what on the globe was happening? I asked the policemen there. They didn't, they were not rough. They were quite civil. And I asked, did you have a court order or what on the globe is happening? They just said, sir, we are on orders. Okay, so I went into the building, went upstairs, I met some of the staff that were working there. Then I left for the meeting now rescheduled at the Yaradua Center. Because, the Board of Trustees is the custodian of the assets and the liabilities of the party. It is the upper chamber of our party. It is the conscience of the party. If we were going to hold a meeting, without any court order or anything that we have had some infringement or whatever, I flew in from Lagos, others came from their various, local governments all over the country. And I was so furious that what is going on? Who is the order from the above? That's what we kept asking until we now got to the NEC meeting. And I'm sure that will never, ever, ever again, because it has never happened. We then concluded that this was part of the crisis we've been going through. And these experiences that we are having are a load of lessons for the party members. Never did I ever believe or remember that all the time I spent as a working committee member, did we ever have this show of shame? But in the final analysis, in the end, we, like one family, we came together. The mistake, the guy who made the mistake apologized, said he didn't know that was going to be a Board of Trustee meeting, and he was just trying to safeguard the place because of the meeting that was going to come up later on in the day. What can we do? They have apologized. We saw the shenanigans. We saw the filth, the impact it has on the minds of the people. But let me reassure Nigerians, the electorate, that there's no organization anywhere in the world you will not have crisis. If you have disagreements, the most sensible thing to do is get back to your family, lock the doors, tell yourself some serious home truths, debate, discuss. You will shout sometimes you will laugh, but in the end, you must come out united. And that's what we have achieved today. And that is a measure of the competence of the members of the party. So we started pretty rough, but in the end, we were able to meet, to come together, to resolve these differences, and never again are we going to ever allow ourselves to be dragged by partisanship or by misinformation. And that's why when the chairman was talking, he asked the press, please stop informing the public about our party. You remember that was what he said. So, but we thank God, it's all well that ends well. I said it before, that because we haven't had a NEC meeting, which is a congregation of the elders, the current the managers of the party at various levels, from the state to the zone and then to the national. There have been differences. There have been all kinds of fireworks, and we saw the hands of Esau and the voice of Jacob. But today, I can tell you that it's a resurrection day. Today is the 30th of June, 2025. That's the end of the first half of the year. So now that we have been able to resolve our crisis, we are now back as brothers and sisters. From the 1st of July till 2027, we will never, ever have these kind of experiences in our party. We are really telling everybody, welcome back home. Your house is now ready to receive as many of you as possible. All the levels of discussion, all the levels of arbitration are now reestablished. And those who have been so viciously angry are now told to
All right.
Kadan
Chief
Kadan,
George,
like they say in Hausa land, Wayo in Igbo, and Tejeje in Yoruba land.
Let's get a sense.
I am so happy.
Yeah. Let's get a sense of what really happened today. Because on one hand, there was a conversation, and the national chairman, the acting national chairman, has announced that today there won't be a NEC meeting. But on one hand, in Enugu yesterday, Governor Umba, Governor Makinde all insisted that there will be a NEC meeting. It threw members of the public into confusion as to the state of the party. So there are those who will say, is really a NEC meeting or just a meeting of leaders of the party today?
You must be kidding. It was covered by your voice. A NEC meeting is a congregation. That is, first of all, the next powerful organ to the convention. And after every convention, the last statement made that will be made by the convening authority will be all decisions from now until the next election would be handled by NEC, and is the most powerful after convention. Yes, we had disagreements before going into this meeting, but like I said, we were able to close the doors, to hold meetings, to tell ourselves some serious home truths, to accept, reject. Eventually, we came to a reasonable conclusion, and that from now on, they had sometimes, you have to plead with some people, sometimes you have to rebuke some people, but that's all within the family household. But now we finally left with a big smile on our faces and a commitment that we have learned our lessons, and never again with this Iroko political party of this country get into that doldrum.
So give us an understanding, because the meeting that you held today, if you look at what INEC told the leaders of the party as to who is legitimately authorized, who has the authority to inform INEC of this kind of meeting. This meeting was not signed up by Samuel Ayan, who INEC, as invariably says, is the recognized scribe of the party. So, and that those who will say this meeting still lacks the legitimacy.
No. You see, this if once you are as a member of a family, if you have disagreements, you meet, resolve your disagreements. But on one side, I remember that the national chairman, the acting national chairman, said it was going to be a caucus meeting. All right? Now, at every NEC meeting, you normally will have the caucus meeting, who are senior members of the party, followed by the board of trustees of the party, and then the NEC meeting. But he was saying that because of the meeting they had, they didn't have the appropriate man to sign the letter and all these stories. But we reminded him that the last meeting we had, the 99th NEC meeting, we adjourned till the 20th, the 30th of June. So it's a continuation of that same meeting. You don't keep sending letters of approval or no approval, a notification or no. It was a continuation. In fact, the minutes were not read today because next one that we will have, we will come up with the exact information.
How did the party, or how did the NEC today, as you put it, agree on Samuel Anyanwu? Because from yesterday to today, Mr. Umba and Governor Makinde are saying that Ude Okoye still remains the choice of the Southeast Caucus as national secretary of the party, those interests and those concerned, were they heard? And were they just jettisoned? Or how did you agree at that meeting that Samuel Anyanwu should be fully reinstated?
Of course. You know, sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some. For the interest of the party. Because this party, being a political party, is expected to be able to convince the electorate of the competence of the managers of the party, that if we have any crisis, we will be very competent to handle such crisis. And that because of the pool of educated, learned, robust managers that we have in the party, that gives us the opportunity to manage ourselves. And like I said, you get into the room, everybody, will be allowed to hear his views. We will listen to A, we listen to B. We will be able to manage where you need to give concession, you give concession, because no individual owns our party. It's a collective responsibility. It is not a mini-money. No. All of us own the party. If you are there, you are just a manager appointed to manage the resources of the party and ensure justice, fairness, and equity. So when people were, you cannot remain completely on one side and refuse to lean into the other group. If you want to have a real a political party, a genuine political party, a substantial political party, a respectable political party, you must be able to, sometimes you give in, sometimes we match the two, we rub them together, and whatever the outcome, you lose some, you win some, and that is the essence of life. It's not a matter of you perpetually that you own it. Now, the discussion yesterday was tabled extensively today, and the public posture, the public existence of this PDP is far more important than private enterprises, private interest and all that. Nobody's private interest.
But Chief Judge,
the corporate interest
Chief Judge, if I may jump in quickly, the back and forth has been going on for several months. And, one step forward, it does look like 20 steps backward for your party. In fact, my guest yesterday on the program said to me, he said the PDP is in a state of quagmire and that the party is suffering from multiple organ damage and the party is in an ICU situation. The party is dead to 2027 possibility of elections. Are you worried that your party might not be fully ready to compete in 2027?
You must be kidding. I don't know who you spoke with yesterday, but whoever it is must be in a dreamland. Look, I was part of the first elected member of the managers of this party. The founding fathers handed over to us the procedure, the leanings, the do's and don'ts of the party. And as years go by, some people who came later as managers started manipulating, and we kept warning, you cannot personalize the party. It is not your property. No individual owns this party. If, like he was telling you yesterday, that must be something at the back of his head, let him go and join the APC. Those who don't believe in us, go and join and see the methodology of management in APC.
But Chief Judge, your optimism here, like a loyal member of the party,
Right.
Chief Judge, from 2015,
Right.
you got a bloody nose. And your party has not been able to heal itself from that bloody nose. 2015, 2019, 2023, you have lost election back to back, and you are losing members. You lost 2 governors to the APC, and there are members of your party, leaders of your party, that are joining the opposition coalition, and there are those who think that the way and manner your party is running, it looks like it is dead. How are you going to wake it up?
No way. Those are dreamers. I am telling you, they are first-class dreamers. The party they are going to, in terms of political management, in terms of ownership, in terms of camaraderie, they don't have what we have. Why do I keep calling our party the ROCO, Political Party of Nigeria? Because the taproot is so deep-rooted. I told your colleagues, I said this severally, that you know why it has taken this long? It was because they didn't call the NEC meeting. Once the NEC meeting has been called, we were able to resolve our crisis today. And
but Chief Judge, you do not see any problem with the ambition. Because there are those who believe that ambition is what is killing your party.
No.
Personal ambition, selfish objectives is the one killing your party. And it does look like from 1998, you still think, Chief Judge, that you're still in the era of PDP of 1998 that won election in 99, in 2003, 2007, and 2011. Things are changing. Right. And the dynamics and the paradigm in your party looks unfavorable right now.
You know, Sheung, I am a full throttle member, a leader, an elder of this party. You know, no matter how many clothing a young man has, you will never have as many rags as an old man. This is where we come in to say enough is enough. Our governors were dedicated, our governors were honest, they were committed, and they had a meeting to make sure we resolve this crisis. Same with the members, the oldest, the old generation of the elders of the party, the board of trustee members, and all the other members of the working committee. It was a full meeting today. Those who think, oh, we haven't been able to do this, we noticed and we have recognized and realized that when people put their personal ambition on the floor, you will always lose. That lesson we have gotten. You can see these people who are still moving around now and thinking, oh, I want to go and form a coalition. I want to go and do this. Oh, I will make sure I vote for you, Mr. President. But I am still in PDP. How do you now accept that as a behavior expected of a full-fledged, committed, dedicated, loyal member of your house? How is that possible? These are the things we have learned. And when Papa Ekweme, co-sponsored the original members, he invited Chibola Ige from the Southwest. Chibola Ige and him are not politically correct to themselves. He called Papa Jim Mobodo. They are always at opposite sides. Papa Solomon La, Rimi in Kanu, Professor Aminu, late Professor Aminu, Papa Bamanga Tuko, Papa from Yobe. A lot of people with political differences, they were able to come together to say, listen, let's work together. This country has a particular
Chief Judge.
How can we resolve it? That's how the PDP came. Now
Chief Judge.
Others are now coming, thinking only about themselves. Oh, you want to be president. You will manipulate here. You will never again. As long as some of us are alive, we will remind those people who committed that. And you remember, this is not the first time. a load of them shipped themselves out.
All right.
To join the opposition party. What happened to them? They traced their back.
All right, Chief George, I must thank you, and I wish your party well. There are tough days ahead, and I hope that you'll be able to swim in the very troubled waters safely. Thank you so much, Chief Olabode George, member of the Board of Trustees of the People's Democratic Party.
Right. Let me tell you the prayers I had last night, because prayers are very, very powerful. Prayers are extremely powerful. I didn't know what today was going to be like. I promised Rufai and Ruben Abati last week that you wait until the 20th of June, 30th of June. You will see the outcome. Let me read to you. And today, it's the last day of the first half year of 2025. We were able to resolve our crisis today. We have resurrected. We are going to move from the 1st of July on the path of justice with the fear of God in our minds.
All right.
To the El Dorado.
Chief George, we need to leave it at that because we're totally out of time. But thank you so much indeed for your time tonight. We'll take a break, everyone. But when we return, we'll be talking about free, fair elections in 2027. Well, don't laugh at me. Yes, it might be a dream, but let's all work at it. It's the future of our country. If you think it's a joke to have a credible elections, well, why don't we all work together? There is now a credibility threshold document for everyone to follow to ensure that we have a credible election in 2027. I'll be telling you more about it after this break, everyone. Join us again. A credible 2027 elections. Earlier today, I was also privileged to attend the meeting and the launch of the credibility threshold as launched by the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room. At that meeting and at the launch, the civil society organization came together and reporting on what has happened in the past election and looking forward to how we can have our credible elections come 2027. This is not the first time that the Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room is launching a credibility threshold report for an election. They did it in 2019, in 2023, and this time around again in 2027. The minister former minister and as the Senate chair on electoral reforms was at the meeting. IPAC chairman and conveners of the Situation Room were also present at that launch. But let me allow you to listen to just a few of what was said at the launch.
We have the public hearing that is coming up now.
If it is position of the Senate, what we are doing is to ensure that the next electoral amendment is signed by Mr. President. What I cannot guarantee, because I belong to the National Assembly, that's the assurance by my Senate President, but I'm no longer in the executive. I don't have the authority, but ours is to persuade Mr. President, and I've seen the determination from Mr. President.
Things that we need to look at is, yes, you can have all the machines, you can have all the systems well thought of. What about the quality of the humans that are manning the machines? And also the commitment, the issues of patriotism.
Fund is one thing that affects what happens in the political party, because how do parties derive their funding? So because the political parties are left at the mercy of individuals who have a bigger pocket, they end up determining what happened in the party. So the parties are handicapped when it comes to punishing erring members. You can see what is happening in all the parties today from one of them to another, because the parties are not independent financially.
To monitor and issue compliance performance reports as follows. 1. Quarterly public scores cards beginning to Q4 2025 will rate compliance by INEC, the presidency, the National Assembly, security agencies, political parties, and the judiciary. So this is something we will be doing on quarterly basis, scoring each of these key stakeholders to the election.
All right, indeed. They released this report, which I'm going to be telling you more about it, but let me bring in one person who has led the agitation and advocacy for a credible election, a co-convener of the Civil Society Situation Room, our constitutional lawyer, Mr. Clement Uwankwo, is live for us here in Abuja studio. It's a pleasure having you join us on the program tonight.
Thank you, Sheon.
Indeed, I was able to read, and I wish that we could put the barcode on television now so that our viewers can take a picture of the barcode and be able to download the soft copy of the credibility threshold. Basically, can you summarize for us in 2 paragraphs what this is?
Well, this would be available on the Situation Room website, certainly, and I'm sure that people would be able to go there and download it. But essentially what we're doing and what the Situation Room has done with this document is to produce thresholds, as we did in 2019 and 2023, thresholds, credibility thresholds that elections must meet to be credible.
Irreducible minimum standards.
It would be the irreducible minimum standards. And it's not, the standards are not set in the sky. They are set in a way that says, these are the things that you need to do. And it assigns everybody a responsibility, including all civil society. But most importantly, the election management body, INEC, the security agencies, the National Assembly, the political parties themselves as well. So really, it's to say, these are the standards that are universal. And if our elections are to be acceptable to Nigerians, but also internationally, and if a government that emerges from that election is to be legitimate and credible, the elections must satisfy the following criteria. And we listed 10 criteria that would need to be met.
Before we, in fact, get into that, and from what I read in the report, it shows that you have promised Nigerians that you are going to monitor. It's going to be the indices upon which you are going to rate and judge the 2027 election, because you've set a standard and you have allotted roles and responsibilities to everyone. Citizens, the government, the National Assembly, the election management body, and everyone basically who is supposed to be part of the election, even security agencies. Now, I would like for us to analyze and look at 2023 elections, because you set a threshold for the 2023 election. Did that election meet up with that threshold that you set or not?
The first threshold we set, like you rightly identified, was done in 2019 when I was the convener. And today the current convener, YZ Yao, was also reading for 2027. But we did set a threshold for 2019 for the 2019 general elections. And don't ask me why this is coming 2 years before 2027. It's really because the politicians have started the run far too early. So we think it's important to do this right now, just so that everybody is aware of what expectations are. But we thought that 2023 was a huge missed opportunity to bring Nigeria into credibility of democracy development.
So the 2023 election failed the threshold, the standards.
In 2019, we set 8 criteria. In 2019, we set 13 criteria, and the elections failed more than 8 of this.
In 2023?
In 2023. And the criteria, like I said, it's not a lot. One is, of course, that you have to have the elections properly managed. You have to have reduced levels of violence. You have to have your logistical arrangements in place. You have to have credible resource management system. You have to have your technology up and running. You have to have engagement with civil society, with the public, with voters. You have to have inclusivity such that persons who are disadvantaged can be able to come out and vote publicly. You have to have good communications. Virtually all of this failed
in 2023.
In 2023,
and you are describing to me, for some of us who were around enough to cover those kind of elections, you're describing an election that looked like 2007. And that perhaps is in the Fourth Republic. There are those who will say that, in fact, is the worst election in our Fourth Republic, to the point that the president elected through that elections came out and said, the election that brought me into office is flawed.
In 2007, it was not a complete election. And I remember very well because I was observing the election in 2007. And I've observed the elections in this country for decades. In 2007, and I have to say this all over again, there were only 12 states that had sent in their results. And the results for the entire country was announced. 2023 was so very bad in ways that compares with 2007 because of the several flaws. It was really bad in 2023, and that's why we have been very critical. And if you watch the trajectory of turnout for elections, in 2011, the percentage turnout was 54% in the 2011 elections, which was the election that took place right after the Always Committee report was turned in. In the 2015 elections, which was actually a very monumental election when you had the first transition of power from an incumbent to the opposition, the turnout was in 2015. But look at what happened in 2019. It was 35% turnout. And what tells you how bad it was that in 2023, the total amount or total number of persons that turned out for the elections was only 29%, unprecedentedly low.
And what perhaps the statistics that you have not given out is the margin of win. In all of this election, we had the lowest in 2023. 36% was what we got from the person who won the election. That was the lowest margin threshold that we've had since 1999. So, I mean, just talking about 29% of voter turnout out of 93 million people that voted in that election, of over 200 million people, and you discover that 33% of the voters who actually voted for the president who won the election.
It wasn't 93 million that voted. It was 93 million on the voters register.
On the voters register.
And then you had less than 27 million people vote. And what is instructive is that the winner, or the person declared as winner, had a vote lower than his top two challengers, which meant that the election, or the person that won the elections, could not be described as having won the majority of votes when you look at the total number of votes cast. Going beyond all of that, we have said as Situation Room, and as we've done in previous elections, we have to revive public trust. And public trust is centered around two things. One, the integrity of the elections, which means that the election management body and all the stakeholders are saying we want to do things right. And the other is competence, which means that even if they want to do things right, what is the competence level? So those are two things that we are concerned about right now. And we can't continue to have a deterioration, a decrease in the number of people who come out to vote, because it goes to the legitimacy of the government that emerges from that vote. And so the emphasis at this time, and the call on everyone who is a stakeholder, is let's all work together to ensure that elections in 2027 is credible.
In the reports that you've released today, which I would recommend that all Nigerians should go and get it, and we need to master it so that we can all follow through. We still have 2 years to be able to ensure that we have the kind of elections. And you said that for us to, in that report, the criteria, the credibility threshold are set out to reverse the trend, some of which we've seen in the graph that we've shown here, either in voter turnout or in the trust in the capacity of the election management body. There are three pillars that you have set, one being that issue of integrity, delivery, and engagement. What do you make of this? How do you identify these three pillars?
I think that in terms of integrity, you have to look at all of the stakeholders and what role they have to play. whether it's the election management body, the political parties. And you can see, you just finished an interview now of one of the political parties. The political parties, and this cuts across all, the political parties are in their own confusion, in their own dilemma, and there is no exception. So let no one think it's just one party or the other. There is no exception amongst all of the parties. The issue that runs through all of them is lack of internal democracy. Party primaries are conducted in ways that question the fairness and integrity of the process. Party leadership is almost operating with impunity. Membership is isolated from the leadership of the party. So parties are very weak, and this cuts across all the parties, like I said. The issue of management of elections becomes really important. What is the mindset, and how are people appointed into the Electoral Commission? It is difficult for you to say that if somebody who's been appointed by an incumbent would be able to deliver in a way that is free and fair, unless that person has their own personal integrity. And it's a question, what are the nature of persons going to be appointed? As you know, there would be the opportunity for leadership change at the highest levels in INEC. Who and who would be appointed? Before
the end of the year.
Certainly.
So, and it behoves on the president to determine and push to the committee of...
It would be the INEC Committee on Electoral Matters.
Yeah.
And I think that if you do have the INEC Committee on Electoral Matters considering these issues, it has to be in a way that all Nigerians can see that they have done their work thoroughly.
We'll be wondering who the next INEC chairman will be, because I know that Professor Yakubu will be bowing out before the end of the year. So it will really give Nigerians an understanding of where we are going in 2027, whether we are ready for incredible elections or not. But you heard, and I will want a lot of Nigerians to keep playing and reminding the National Assembly the commitment made today by Senator Simon Lalong, who is the Senate Chair on Electoral Matters in the Senate, who said that there will be a new law. He said it. And I love a lot of people to keep posting it, to keep reminding the authorities and the establishment that there is a commitment that we will have a revived body of laws ahead of the 2027 election. But if there are three major areas for us to fix and review in our laws to help us achieve the dream of a 2027 credible elections, what would those be?
I had the privilege of being in the retreat of the Committee on Electoral Matters over the weekend, and I could see the debate and discussions amongst the members of the committee. It didn't seem to me that there was any partisanship in the conversations that we're having. I saw genuinely members of the committee discussing how to put in place a very good electoral law for the country. And a lot of the issues that are in conversation include some of the issues that election observers have raised over the time. One is, of course, to ensure that you do have technology properly instituted within the Electoral Act, that there is the accountability of election offenders, people who offend the elections.
Know that there is the deterrence and there is punishment.
There is punishment.
For anybody who is planning to rig. Because what politicians do best these days, Mr. Owanko, is the fact that they have mastered the art of subverting the law. Yes, we create a body of law to achieve a good election, but politicians will go and learn the best ways to subvert it.
I think it's enforcement, and I could see in the committee discussions a resolve to ensure that this is enforced. There are the conversations around the court process. Don't forget that part of the challenge of our election system, and PLAC did release a report quite recently that talked about ballots to the courts, a situation where the courts become very, very critical to determining how election results manifest. Is a major challenge for our elections. So it's a question how the courts are able to ensure that they remain faithful to their oath of office. Judges ensure that that is the case, and that election dispute resolution and the courts are seen as free and fair.
Are you hopeful about a possible credible elections? Because I could hear some people at home who are making jest of me when I said we want to ensure credible election in 2027.
I think that if we don't work towards it, then we would get what what we...
So we must work hard.
We have to work towards it. And for me, I think it's not a question of giving up, because if I say to you that I'm hopeful but do nothing, then nothing happens. If I say to you I've lost hope, then we don't do anything. I have seen the worst in terms of governance in this country. I have seen dictatorship. I have seen the brutality of non or unconstitutional rule. And for me, nothing surpasses ensuring that our democracy survives. And that's what we have been working on all these years.
Well, congratulations on the launch of this report.
Thank you, Sharon.
And I wish you and your colleagues well. My regards to them at the Situation Room. Thanks so much, Mr. Clement Wonko. It's good to see you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, it's an effort. It's a communal effort. We cannot give up on our country. We need to hold our hands together. Everyone marching, whether the streets and our rooms, wherever the polling unit, we need to ensure that 2027 is not like any other year. It's a year of 2027 of credible election. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching tonight. I'm Sean Kimale. God bless Nigeria.